they're not interested in leadership actually. But so yeah, first thing is to introduce them that everybody can be a leader.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was just saying this, sorry. So was that conversation about everybody in the team is going to be leaders?
Yeah.
Like distributed, not centralized, like one guy.
The concept of leadership is everybody can take responsibility of their works.
Yeah, definitely. It's just like, you know, that's an open debate. What I was also thinking last time when we were talking about this thing was giving responsibility to just one leader, giving the whole because that's how companies work. I know that everybody's a leader, but you know, we won't be able to. That's the difference. I'm not saying this is right or that's wrong or anything.
No. I mean,
yeah.
Sorry, because I can do that because it's my boyfriend. Stop saying it. It's not that. So we were saying we're still gonna have a leader, but instead of calling them leader, team leader, we're gonna call them a team organizer. So everyone feels they are leaders. The team members, all of them are gonna feel that they are leaders, but the actual leader, the team leader, is gonna be called team organizer. That's what we discussed.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like another way. I'm not saying again, there's no right or wrong on this one. Depending on what you choose, which way you go, you have different kinds of outputs. You have different kinds of people. Like if you take 2 classes and go with this way versus the other way, you're gonna have a different outcome. You know, my thing when I was saying that there is one team leader and the rest is serving to the team leader, it's like a real environment. And then I know that I want to give leadership skills to everybody, but it may not be possible. Maybe if you have unlimited time, you can say, you can put the group, put one leader, then next semester change the group, put the other guy in the leadership. Because I want to put one guy and have him sweat. Like have him get all the pressure between the teacher and the students, like a real environment. That's what how business works. It's hierarchical. There's like, you know, the snowflake thing. There's one guy who is managing those people, and who's the leader, and he delegates to other people. If you don't give pressure to this person, deadlines are tight, he won't be able to do it, he has to convince people. That's the real leadership. Because the other way, if you do it, if it's distributed, everybody is a leader, there's no one single person. What happens in this kind of thing is, if something goes wrong, people start like, oh, you were going to do that, no, you were going to do that, no, I was going to do that. But in the other way, there's only one person to blame. And that one person is like, he makes it happen. Because his neck is there. He's under pressure. That's how leadership works in companies.
Yeah, I mean, definitely I agree. That's how it works in real world. And I want them to experience the real world. But the intention of this class is like let them know about leadership. And I believe that they need to experience leadership. Not like actually, okay, you are in a company and that this is a real business. I mean, that's a great idea. But then how are the other team members going to experience leadership then?
Yeah,
there's a trade-off, right? You can't make everybody happy. Like real world, my goal for real world is if you do something that is not real world, that's not a good education, I think, because it's like teaching kids in a vacuum and then saying, okay, now you have this university, you have, you know, go find your life. And this person goes and says, wow, this is different, wow, this is different. It's a two totally. There's no bridge between education and the real world. There must be. So.
We can also, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We can also think about that, you know, it's a model of that everybody can be a leader. And
they should be. I'm not saying exactly.
Yeah, if
I'm
that's
not
the
saying,
deal,
let's say that you're a group of 4 people here, and let's say you're the group leader. You're the manager, right? And we're reporting to you. I'm supposed to do the food administration. She's supposed to do the visual aid administration. We are all leaders. It's not that you are the only leader. We are leaders of our own zone. I'm really supposed to make sure that this coffee is on time, it's hot and everything. I'm already a leader, but you're delegating that work to me. And at the end of the day, I'm responsible for my own point. And you're responsible for everything as you delegate to people. But if something goes wrong, I don't talk to the teacher, you talk to the teacher. So you're pressuring me to get the coffee on time because the teacher is taking statistics saying that, oh, this group's food is perfect, this group is always late with food and the coffee sucks. What's wrong with your group? And then you're going to say, then you're going to come to me and say, well, we got this evaluation, what's going on? That's the real leadership in the real world.
Yeah.
You know, other than that, if not, if you have like regular decentralized ones, it's going to be, oh, you were going to get, who got the coffee last time? Maybe you got it. No, it's your fault. No, my fault. Who did it? Doesn't really, you know.
Or even like
my experience also seeing having one leader, but also having maybe like wise leaders, like kind of, you know, one or two people, because we don't have all the time the right person who are the leaders, especially like sometimes, I mean, it's again like my experiences, so it's good sometimes to have one or two leaders, like also it's in the companies, you know, like this CEO is in the top, but then there are hierarchy, then like if something is not going well with anybody on the top or in the other sides, then you can also like, you know, negotiate things with other people who are in the leadership position if something is not going well, and like make things.
Those people are leaders too. I mean, there's a CEO and there's a vice president of marketing.
Yeah.
That vice president of marketing is a leader too, in his own sector.
Yeah.
Because not one person cannot do everything, right? So those are expected to be leaders too. So you can actually achieve this thing with, you know, with the way, if you approach the right way, you can make all of those individuals leaders also, but there's going to be only one single guy in the company, I mean in that team, who's going to be the real leader of that, representing that whole team.
Yeah.
That's the real, you know, version of it. I'm not saying it's better, it's just a trade-off.
Yeah.
In the other way, the output is different. You have different, it's like a factory. You have different people here, you have different people here. When you combine them, probably the ones that have the single leadership is going to go, it's going to go a little better than these guys, because they're going to be a little more aggressive, which is very important. They're going to be energetic, they're going to be more leaders. Others may be a little bit better for collaboration, teamwork. They will develop different skills, definitely different skills. Maybe they will have better communication skills. But you know, it's like two different outputs. Which one do you want to select? It's a factory.
It's tough, but I agree with you. It's, you know, without one person who is really taking care about and being responsible of all the
Subgroups.
yeah. But then still, I mean, the thing is that we don't want them called leader, and we can. I was thinking maybe we can assign one of them and say that you are really responsible on everything, right? So it's your job to make sure everyone, you know, works in the right way to make it happen. Yeah. So I mean, the thing is that we don't want to call them leader because, you know, kids could be confused that, oh, okay, you're the leader of the team, I'm not. I don't have to.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, I mean, if somebody's leader, you go home and say, oh, today they picked up the leader. Is it you, my son? No. That person is the leader. Oh, okay, I'm not a leader. I'm just going to sit down and do that. That's a good call. Maybe then we should call him another name. But not organizer. Organizer is too...
Yeah, we can. Yeah, it's negotiable.
Right, representative.
President? I don't know.
President.
Is it too...
Team.
Or we can call any name, like.
Give me like a chair.
Chair.
Or like a dragon.
Dragon.
They not work for 9th graders. Cheer sounds nice.
I was assigned to be the dragon today.
Representative is one word, but representative is also a little weak. It's like, you represent the group, but if the group does something wrong, you're just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger kind of thing. You want to give some title to this guy who's going to put him under pressure. You know? That's how things work, because he's gonna put. I would like to really watch this thing and then see how he interacts with his team, pressures them. There's conflicts, maybe even debates, hot, you know, conversations. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, giving this opportunity to kids is amazing. Because it's other than it's a biology project. You just cut the frog and everybody's happy, and then you know, it's general, but there is no pressure. You know, it's not that's not the skill set that you want to give to the kids. Sorry, it's just like I'm not trying to lead the.
No. I mean, you're making very good points.
I'm kind of like external to this group because I'm not in education. It's just I'm trying to show an example of the one way.
I mean, it's not that I was against what you're saying. It's that I totally agree with you, and that if I was like in that situation, I'll totally go with like having one leader. That's kind of my style. But just like it's between real business and what we are trying to like real practical one and ideal one, kind of. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So.
And again, you know, another thing is, in a group of like 20 people, only 4 of them are going to be leaders probably. I mean, it's it's hard to say the exact number percentage-wise, but not everybody's leaders walking on the street. I mean, they have to be leaders on their thing, definitely, but they are not CEOs. There's only select guys. So even if in that group, you want to make, or even 20 of them leaders, you're not going to make more than 4 or 5 of them. Like, I'm not saying leader, like top leader guys, your kind of guy. The others could be definitely, they should be leaders of their own zone. And that's the thing, like, it's not, that should be explained very well to the kids. Like, there's this person at the top. It doesn't mean that you're just going to follow and do everything he says. You are responsible for your own zone. And this person is just like coordinating you and then helping you out. And he's responsible, but you're leaders of your own zone. That's important.
Yeah, but I think it's very difficult to teach this concept.
It is.
Once you establish this hierarchy, when one team leader and another teammate, but they are responsible, I don't think students are motivated, really motivated to be a leader, self-leader. And that's, I think, also a current problem on society now. Because many employees are not motivated. They are doing what they are told to do, right? So we want to change this situation by introducing them about the concept of leadership.
Yeah.
So I think for now, it's better to say that everybody is a leader and no definite one person who take all responsibility of anything. Just start from concept of everybody is a leader first, and then maybe in the next step, maybe we can go to your suggestion.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
for
was
sure. It's
thinking
just
about,
like,
I was thinking about there's the real world words, and here's the ideal world that we're thinking about. That what should be focused on it. I mean, it's good to have to introduce the real world word, but then at the same time, if you want to have the ideal type of thing, that why not to implement it?
yeah. I mean, let's see the other way. That let's continue and let's.
I mean, I know it's hard. It's definitely the ideal one is always hard at times.
You can still rotate.
Can I just interject though? So there's multiple real worlds, multiple variation of real world. Business is very different than education. Education is slightly different than nonprofit. And I think what we're talking about is organizational leadership in a way, but there's different approaches to leadership to different situations. So, for example, a leader in the military would act very differently than somebody as a leader in a school, or some other committee or something like that. So, there's, you don't have to look at things in one way or one type of organization. It's like you can be very directive when you need to be, or you can be transformative when you need to be. Also, I think it's just understanding the principles behind it and what drives it.
Very good point.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Yeah. So for thanks for coming. You.
Sorry.
That's fine. We needed you. And we started kind of with this summary of what we talked about last sessions, and I was looking at the summary that I emailed you yesterday, and we did it on Wednesday or something, and then I was looking at it, and then I realized we had so many ideas, but it's not so organized. It's like it was everywhere. So I decided to put it in some categories. And you may not be agree with how I arrange the things, but I would just explain it. If you think like it's not the right way, you can just tell me, and then we can change the order. And obviously, I think what we just discussed is supposed to be in here. So the first category is, I just named it initiating leadership in classrooms, and then this can be applied to any subjects in any classes, and it's supposed to happen in early semester, definitely, whatever the class is, whatever the subject is, and the rationale behind I'm sorry. So, and initiating leadership is going to focus on basically motivating students, and the rationale behind that is we want to help students become active agents in community, and then the 3 activities are what we discussed last time, and ask what they want to be in the future and how schools, class teachers can help with that. Second, ask students what the class goals should be and how to achieve the goals. And I believe that what we just discussed, like what kind of leadership we have in real world, or that's something that we also need to put in somewhere here, like leadership education. That's my suggestion. Sorry.
Do we have any research to see if anybody did this thing before? Some research that shows this is what they did, that's what the kind of result they received,
Leadership
so that
class.
we can use it. We don't have to start from scratch, right? We can use that information.
That's true. Yeah, I mean that's a great idea.
I don't know if you guys have tools like cases that are documented,
Yeah, it's final paper topic actually. I mean, not mine. I'm just suggesting, like, anybody can do final paper on it. Yeah, I mean, I can search for it right now whether they have, but basically we need to.
They might have.
Yeah, I believe they have, and then they probably have pilot studies and case studies and all those things. Yeah, and it's a great suggestion if we, read earlier. We should have looked at it and then kind of see some summary of what they did, and then we can kind of follow the order and add details on it. But sorry about that. It's a great suggestion.
Yeah. You can also contact our business school, because our business school's type of education is like leadership. Like you could go to Columbia MBA or MIT, they are more technical MBAs, or they are more quantitative MBAs. Harvard is just like output is leadership skills. That's their top priority, right? They want to get out, leadership out of you, and they want to make sure that you have it the best way that you can craft before you graduate. They may have some resources for it.
Okay.
Maybe they already have a program that they sponsor in somewhere in Oklahoma or something. There's a class more here in Massachusetts that they paid for it, they sponsored it, and they want to see how teachers are working with these leaders. I'm sure they did something.
There's a charter school called Leadership School something in Boston. Does anybody know? Yeah. I think there is something like that. Smith Leadership Academy Charter School. You would all see.
Can we look maybe vision and mission, whatever?
Vision?
Yeah, it's like about us.
Oh yes, and their values.
Yeah.
The vision is Smith Leadership Academy is to become a 5 to 8 middle school and 7 to 12 high school, where the students will develop a ethical principles. What's that?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The vision doesn't say anything about leadership. It doesn't have the word.
Let's see. Student life, community service, after school program.
Do they have like curriculum?
Curriculum?
So they have service learning projects.
And I don't know like
3 years of service.
how it is in the US, of course, but like my experience in Western Europe, like they have beautiful web pages, like we do this and this, like we got money for that. Funding systems, I don't know, quite different maybe. But then when I was going to school, like, for example, this one of the school, I was so like interested. They were like, oh, we have Girls' Day. Like it's a very gender, like woman-oriented. Like all the leaders are women, and then like we have all these girls' activities and stuff. So I was very excited because I'm doing like gender perspective. So when I went to that school and they accepted me, of course, but almost nothing is existing what they said on the web page. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have the same experience in the US, but I've seen it's quite like
That's the thing about like you're doing research far away from. It's like I'm doing research something about Korea or the center in Korea, and then I'm like calling them and like doing survey, like online chatting. But I haven't been there. Like, I don't know if I can really trust without having some internal evaluator in the center.
I was so surprised to see beautiful web pages, explanations of what they're doing, and then when I go to research and that when I was there, I just didn't see those things that existed actually.
Yeah. So actual like a center visit or a class visit is really important.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we cannot believe these things, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. I asked two Americans.
So that happens in business too.
Okay.
That's why I left the financial industry, is because their values did not match what was stated on a plaque in the building. Like, these are our values. I'm like, no, those are not your values. Because I work here every day.
Let's be honest.
So we want to have something that actually is going to happen in our class, not like, right?
Just to remind you that the goal of today's meeting is to have the proposal of the project. So, I know we have a lot of work to find out the research or other, kind of case studies and, many things to think about, but, we have limited time today, so.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Maybe just get focused and get done. Yeah.
So for example, we can use it.
So,
Yeah.
you're right.
So they like classroom.
But again, like tasting and high-stake tasting and
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, these information is very great. If you want to know more about, you can visit the website smithleadership.org. So just getting back to what we are talking about. So they were, as I mentioned, there are two categories. The one for what we can do in any classes, and the second one what we can do in biology classes, and particularly British class. And then there are 5 activities that not that we discussed all of these. I kind of changed a little bit. So there are 5 activities that's I listed over here. First, identifying great scientists that we talked about, the Wangari Maathai, right? Has anyone watched the documentary?
I didn't watch it.
That's fine. That's fine.
But it was on December 5th.
Yeah, but I checked their website, and it's definitely worth look at their website if we are gonna design a curriculum about the global warming, health, and leadership. It's a great combination of all 3. And yeah, if we are gonna do, I'm not sure if we really want to do, but can we experience it? It's about their projects, and it can be a great kind of foundation of our curriculum if we're gonna focus on this activity. And the second activity, what we talked about last time, was a pair project with United Classroom. And the third one that I mentioned, pair project with the United Classroom on great scientists, is something that we didn't talk about, but I kind of made a combination of the first one and second one. And the fourth one, community prevention projects, we talked about, and science fair is going to happen in spring. And kind of encouraging competition and collaborations between students. So we can choose one of these activities and then focus more on how we're going to use the class in teaching global warming, health, and global leadership.
And part of the great scientists or leaders, I think yesterday I went to a conference on the philosophy and history of science, and they were talking a lot about incorporating teaching about historical figures in science and the problems that they faced and the challenges, but then also like what they have done, and also their role of scientific collaboration. And the new, I'm not sure his specific role, but Richard Dushel, he's now an SF guy who's looking at all the standards, and he was speaking a lot about that and like how looking at collaboration and how science is really a discussion of results and refining and retuning of theories and conclusions instead of just like the scientific method where it's like so I thought that went really well with our project, just because it's collaborative and more of a leadership sort of aspect, and everyone's responsible for creating something instead of sitting back doing an experiment and it's like, okay, it's done. But it's like, let's
all get involved in a discussion about what you just saw and what results just came about. But like nature of science is what it's called. The nature of science.
What was the name of the guy?
Richard.
Richard.
It's R-I-C-H. Sorry, Richard.
Oh, Richard.
Yeah, Richard. And then D-U-S-C-H-L. L. Yeah. Sorry, without the R.
R without R.
Yep. Just the L. Yep, perfect.
Should we search for him or do you want me to?
If you want to, I mean, we could figure out the title of the head of like what his new title is.
So it was a conference yesterday?
Yeah, it's still going on now, but it's only invitees.
Yeah.
It was open to the public yesterday, but it was fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, he's affiliated with Penn State. I'm not sure if he's still there or if he like actually physically moved to the NSF headquarters or something. Yeah. So that's him.
What's NSF?
The National Science Foundation, and they give a lot of grants, and they give they kind of have the standards for science, but nothing is ubiquitous in the U.S. for like science standards or any education. But it's like the national guidelines of what should be learned. So I guess it doesn't have its new title up yet. Oh, wow. Or maybe put NSF.
Oh, yeah.
No, not yet. Okay, I guess maybe it's not publicly known yet. I can, I can find out.
Also, like I would like to share, I was the other day, Thursday, in the iLab, Innovation Lab at the Harvard University. So it's behind the business school. What was really interesting, like there was also Dean, and it was for social and culture. So they were promoting this music group all over the world, like from Asia, from Caucasia. It was beautiful. Like, and they also have a concert tomorrow, by the way. It's Silk Road, and it's for free. You can just, I can send tonight if you want. Like, yeah,
I'll send us, either Sook or me.
Definitely. I'm sorry, like it just came to my mind, but what I want to highlight is, like Harvard is also moving towards, because not only like investing in science or in iPhone technology or iPad technology, so they want to also invest in other fields, like so which I heard like in culture or in other fields, so which I found like very interesting, and also they might also have like maybe resources. It's also open, like not just close to Harvard affiliates, by the way. So I was really happy to hear like also they're interested with such things, and they want to improve and implement and work more with other things than technology.
That's great.
Right. Yeah. So maybe it would be good to also look some resources or case studies or whatever. I mean, it's a bit irrelevant, but I just want to.
No. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, it's like STEM gets stronger. It's separating humanities from like technology and math and science, but they're so.
Well, everything is needed. Definitely.
Yeah.
I cannot like separate one thing is more important than the other. But then I was listening in another lecture last week that they think that there's a huge, education is a huge field which is not invested yet. Like, but then on the other side, I heard from some like people who have some contacts with Silicon Valley and like all these businesses and etc. But they think that field of education, people, leaders of education is so close to new things. So they are afraid to make new innovations or investments in education. Like those people who are like entrepreneurs or inventors or whatever, not just like making a technology to be used in the classroom, but those people are thinking it's a huge field to do lots of things all over the world, not just in the Western world, but then they're afraid of the educators are so close and traditional to communicate and collaborate with them. Yeah. And even like there are some colleagues at Harvard who really came there to implement their ideas here and there, are just about to like change their minds, not to invest in education and do like in pharmacology or whatever. So Sorry, it's like a bit irrelevant, but
I feel like it's such a rainy day.
Yeah.
let's leave later on.
Right.
Have more coffee.
Zhao, since it's your class, I think it's a good idea that you mention about more that which topic you would like to do and in which way you would like to set it up and
Which would be more appropriate for your like class
Right, right.
orders and.
Yeah, so I was looking through the textbook. Unfortunately, the teacher did not get back to me.
Oh.
I was like, no. But so I was looking through the textbook, and it was this section that I'm almost positive I will be covering, and it did have evolution with like natural selection, and then there was a plant section and how do plants relate to us, which could be tied to the Greenbelt movement.
Right.
There wasn't anything about climate change. However, I do think, and it's the Boston Green Academy, and so I feel 100% sure that I will integrate climate change into the curriculum, because you can use that to teach a lot of different things. And I did see there's a section on viruses and adaptation, like resistance to antibiotics, different bacteria. So I thought those were really great. So it could either be, again, like that global health aspect tied to evolution and like resistance and health in general and climate change and the spread of different vectors. So like mosquitoes and ticks, for example, carrying Lyme disease or malaria are spreading a lot. And so are like different, like any kind of waterborne illnesses, which would be related to like floods, which are happening more in different places of the world.
Fantastic.
So yeah, so like that or the Greenbelt movement I do like for using for any kind of curriculum. I think it might be easier. But I think that we could find a model that will fit either the Greenbelt movement or the health one. So the Greenbelt movement, just FYI for the folks here, not here last week, the project would look at how, so there's a planting of trees essentially that started in the 70s in Kenya by this wonderful woman, and Wangari Maathai. You pronounce the W as an F apparently. But I know, I was like, oh. But
How do you pronounce? Sorry?
it with as an F, so like Wangari.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so it's like Wangari is like
I guess so, yeah. My professor said
she's from where?
Kenya.
Kenya. Wow.
And so it's planting of trees, and that helped with social issues, poverty issues, because the government was basically deforesting and
There's a small
planting
video clip,
cash
so if you guys like to watch, it's like a 3
Yeah.
minutes of video
Yeah,
clip,
that's
so
And she got Nobel Prize, right?
okay,
For peace, you said?
Yeah.
it's probably here.
Wow.
So that, and then the biology connection would be planting of trees helps to sequester carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and you could look at like photosynthesis things, you can look at how the tree works, and then the importance of how once you have a tree, you're also going to have a feedback loop with moisture and rain and water, and then you'll have better soil. So it's like all of this stuff, and then you can plant gardens, have food, have nourished children. So it's like this whole global person cycle to create a healthy ecosystem and a healthy community. And so, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Let's go downwards.
It's not working.
There's also voice in the.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks.
Do you know how to put these chairs down?
Maybe on the
Oh,
other side.
yeah, other side. Exactly.
You won't be able to.
Is it next to the?
You'll Okay, then try
Okay.
to do that.
You can just pull it.
My computer?
I'm prepared.
That doesn't make any sound.
Uh,
It's maximum.
You can just refresh the page.
Can you? What's this thing?
Yeah, it's other side on
the other
this.
side.
Oh, just kidding.
Just a bit slower.
Holding up.
It's okay. My feet are touching, but just like. Okay, when it's like just very
button
touching.
under the chair. On your right side under the chair.
Is it like this?
It's yeah, it's
Can
on
you
the right
click
side.
the voice icon on the right side?
I
It's
feel
the feet
it.
of the
that's
chair.
right.
Push it
If you just feel your hand under that, it's right.
Is it like
Yeah,
a
it's
knob?
just a little button that sits flat underneath.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like right here.
And it was, I mean, my computer is okay. Like, after I connect this one, so we were listening to
I can
music.
sit in it and make a
So
good
my
nap.
computer is okay,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, it's
Right?
Yeah.
it should
There's a big
look
button.
now normally.
Yeah.
Oh, that's huge.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I hate these chairs.
They're not very long.
Do you have voice when you take it off?
but you cannot see the video.
Yeah, just
Yeah, I can change it and then we can watch it together actually.
Yeah, yeah.
That works.
if you have any sound, that's the video.
Do you have kind of a list of the
Yeah.
projects? Probably
It's
the
on
teachers
YouTube
have the
No, it worked yesterday.
online project now.
I checked it yesterday.
There's
Very interesting.
I feel like the school that I'm working with is they're new, so they're 2 years old. This teacher has been teaching for 9 years, so she has a way of teaching, I guess, like what she covers. But I think it's her second year in the public school system in Boston, and so it's a little bit different. But she has been very, like, I've asked her, I think, 3 or 4 times, like, what will the curriculum be that I'm going to be teaching, or like, what subjects? And she's been very ambiguous, and she's like, I'm not sure what I'm going to get through, basically, because, like, as you go,
Thank you.
I don't know, she either will run out of time, or she'll, like, speed through things, or she might spend longer on something or jump around. Like she's doing the human body and the cell, but she's doing genetics at the very end, which I was like, why would you do the cell and then genetics like separate from that? Because you kind of have to have genetics to do evolution. But yeah. It makes me want to do like the health one
You're looking for the
more.
sound?
But I
restroom?
think
I'm sorry. Where's the
the green
restroom?
belt movement could serve better in terms of teachers would see it and they'd be like, oh, I can use this actual example.
Yeah,
You know. But I mean, health would work too with math for spreading of diseases and then like how many people and what's the rate. And biology and maybe policy. I'm not really sure. I'm not familiar with policy, but yeah, that's true. That's true. I
I
should.
mean, also, you know, we are developing something that might fit in your classroom, but at the same time, the framework should be applicable to other.
If we keep
So,
connecting this
subject, like how do you organize
we need the link.
the group of the students? You know, how to assign them, how much
It should
give them,
already connect.
like, you know, how much
To the thing,
responsible
there must be a switch.
them to take care about and
Yeah.
that kind of thing, how to communicate with them.
Okay. I'm more comfortable with the green belt movement since I just
No,
studied
I'm not
it
sure
for my
if
project.
but this is already projected.
But I'm very interested in health issues.
It's going back to the
And how
project.
things is if you choose that one, how long would you cover the section?
This is going to be projected.
So I think both.
You know what to do.
Okay, let me see. So if it's the green belt movement, I would do like plants, photosynthesis, probably like the carbon cycle.
All you have to do is find
the water cycle.
Let me give you the.
Because there's like cloud formation based on
This
transpiration. Yeah, so like rainforest, the leaves, like the water comes out of the leaves and then like creates that mist in the clouds. And then that serves as nucleation sites for clouds to actually form and then help with the water cycle.
A picture of the cycle.
Yeah. I almost brought, I had so many things this morning. I had my textbook and like all of the stuff I was going to bring, and then it was raining. I was going to bike ride, and then I looked out my window, last minute of course, and I was like, oh, change of plan, we will drive and then walk. But so that would be the green belt movement. So cute.
You watched it?
I watched a lot of little videos.
They were also complaining that they did not have enough water. Why not plant trees? I asked them. And so they just started very small, very small. And before too long, they started showing each other. It was now communities empowering each other to plant trees for their own needs. When the women start.
Soil ecology could be covered as well, and like organisms and the nitrogen cycle. I think, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that. This one would be a longer, like maybe 2 or 3 week project, and then the viruses one I feel like would be shorter, like a week.
I suggest just a suggestion, like after finishing today maybe, like you can still work on, because it's going to be your class and you were also a participant. Maybe like if you have suggestions, you can still like send us during the week, like Thursday, Friday, and then we come prepared.
Yeah.
And also in the final, maybe we can still like, comment on something.
Okay. And on Thursday, I'm hoping to go to the school, and I wanted to like talk to them about this. So
nice.
I was like, I need to come visit you.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they would be.
Do you need any help from us?
I will let you know. I'll see what we get through today.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah. I need to watch the leadership still.
Yeah. I mean, when you go to school, do you need like any documents from what kind of organization we are?
Oh, you know what? That would be fantastic.
Oh, okay. Then we can send some. Yeah.
That would be great. So they know that I'm not just like, I'm a student teacher and I'm taking this whole project on because I'm ambitious. They'll be like, Is it working?
Yeah, it's working. We're just waiting for.
Oh, okay. Fabulous.
So the purpose of this biology class is just introduce the leadership, global leadership.
Maybe you want to integrate it, so it's not just about the leadership itself, but it's, anyway they are covering the whole curriculum, so we want to integrate into. So while they are doing that activity, we're just learning that how can they develop the leadership while they are learning something.
I'm sorry. What was the question? I'm sorry.
What's the purpose of this class? Just introduce the leadership, or?
Oh yeah, the introducing leadership part is gonna be like a beginning of the semester, and what we are doing right now is more like, well, okay, we already know leadership part. We did that. We talked about that in the beginning of class. I mean, in the beginning of semester, and then this is something that we are gonna do activities in science class. So we already know about the leadership, and then how we can do a project. For instance, we are gonna look for a great scientist. And then that's our project, and how we can do it.
So project is look for leadership?
We are just using it part of the leadership. So if we are doing group projects, there's one person is going to be their leader. And then taking care of, being responsible for
exploring these kind of great people.
Topic.
By team.
By team. That's
so it's still the science. I mean, the students are taught science, but the method is not like one way. So teacher comes and shows the students, like how the organs work or something. By group projects, by some introduction, the methodology to, how can I like, prosper, is that the right term now?
Prosper.
Or how can I say, encourage leadership by these group studies, group works, but it's still science at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah. Sorry that we should have communicated better with you about what we did last session.
My idea of leadership in this sector is that let students understand that how they can be a leader in this big sector. For example, this Hungary did something she thought that she need to do. That's a very important thing, and that's the leadership, I think. But just exploring this meeting, or she has encouraged. She has courage to do.
I think that's something that you can explain in the beginning of class, and that before they actually start looking at what she did in terms of planting and like the climate change, and she did something on women rights too, but we don't want to talk about it. It's too much.
I mean, obviously, we don't want them to just sitting passively and just thinking about and that's it. We don't want them. We want them ultimately become active agents and communicate with other people around their communities, and first aware something going on, and second they really need to move their ass.
Yeah,
yes.
That's what is the best time to
It might be to like come up with, while we're exploring photosynthesis, carbon cycle, water cycle, nitrogen cycle, soil ecology and trees, and how that works with climate change. Before understanding the climate change component, or in order to get to it, the students could be in projects where someone is a leader, and then they're getting at that point and doing like a case study, or they're making up their own type of thing, or like a science fair type of project that recapitulates the carbon cycle somehow, or it's like, oh, this will have this effect, small scale, or come up with a community-based project that explains, and like they have a debate or something about how this works, and like why this is going to benefit the community. So
are we ready to watch?
Yeah.
I was hearing many rural women complain about the fact that they did not have firewood. They were also complaining that they did not have enough water. Why not plant trees? I asked the women. And so they just started very, very, very small, very, very small. And before too long, they started showing each other. It was now communities empowering each other to plant trees for their own needs. When the women started, nobody was bothering them because nobody took them seriously. Who takes women seriously? Then the government realized that we were organizing women. So they started interfering with our organizing.
Na mama mmoja anajitokeza na kwa desturi mama kwa Kiafrika lazima kuheshimu wanaume.
We want to debase your womanhood. So I said, now don't give me that. Just use the anatomy that matters right now. And that is from the neck up.
She was disobedient at a time when disobedience was not tolerated.
A lot of our people were imprisoned. A lot of our people were killed.
We will never give up in our fight for a better government.
blood because of our land. We will. It is the people who must save the environment. It's the people who must make their leaders change. So we must stand up for what we believe in.
Pretty cool.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That's leadership.
Yes.
Tough leadership.
Yeah.
Against the government, I mean, that's...
Exactly. I was like, oh my god.
Usually you want to get the government supporting you. This is exactly the opposite.
Yeah. I mean, I was just also like wondering before, because generally, you know, like these that kind of leaders in Africa, you know, like I was wondering how she managed, but now like she was against. Wow. I mean, she looks so young. Like, why she died? You said she died last year.
I think ovarian cancer.
Oh.
She was 60 maybe. Yeah, 50 or 60. She was the first woman PhD in Kenya.
Yeah, she got her PhD in Switzerland. Was it Switzerland?
It was in I think it was here or in Kenya. She went to the University of I think she went to Penn State maybe.
Was it?
Yeah, University of Nairobi. That's right.
What was the
And
major?
did veterinary.
What major was she?
For undergrad, I'm not
No,
sure.
for the PhD.
Oh, she did veterinary science.
She did Nairobi, I saw.
She was collecting
Education.
ticks, or she was like doing something and noticed that the water was really red and like dirty. And usually it's black after the rains because it like mixes up the mixes up the nutrients, and it's supposed to be black. But instead it was after the rain it was like dusty and dirty, which was from runoff because of deforestation. Because like the root system keeps all of the soil in place.
Wow, 77 she already started the Green Belt movement.
Yeah.
Shame on me, I didn't know.
Maybe. These kinds of projects like go under the radar sometimes.
77.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Good.
So cool.
Yeah, another important aspect of the leadership is just not just overcoming tough difficulties.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I wonder from where did her motivation come? Actually, that's, for example, if I learn leadership, I know leadership, but maybe I face some difficulty in the future, one or two small one. But even these small one, I may be like give up, and many people do that actually. So that's the most important thing for leadership, I guess.
Personality, I don't know.
I guess the more you believe in that
Passion.
yeah, like, the more you really believe that that's the right thing you need to do, then there's no way to.
I mean, like very inner, like very like inner strength, right?
Yeah.
You believe it in. Just read like there are books like about the big leaders, like how they manage, like Mahatma Gandhi or Nelson Mandela. Like I have seen those kind of books, like they talk about their life and what they believe and like really their autobiographies. Maybe you can find some like.
I think they are just very straightforward to their view.
I've seen such things and I've read in the past, but you can really find them and look.
There are many aspects.
Yeah, there are many aspects, and they really like sacrifice themselves.
And
It's what they do.
Different from individual to individual. So
Definitely.
people need to find their motivation.
But I agree with Paul.
It's hard in high school too.
Definitely.
So
But very important.
I think there's an emphasis on why, not what or how. It's like why you're doing it.
Right.
You know, you could go say, I'm going to go plant trees for a good cause, and everybody's like, fine, go.
Yeah.
You know, but she's like, I know why I'm doing this, and everybody jumped on. The same thing was with like Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi.
Yeah.
You know, it was like everybody knew why they were doing what they were doing.
Because they believed, and I think like when they believed from heart. Like it was very easy to explain people why it's necessary.
So a cool intro exercise might be to look at the case studies from history of different leaders and the struggles, but also like why they're like what was their story behind why are they studying this thing or you know why this bacteria what so I think that would be an interesting introduction to it.
Right. I think probably this might be a good sequence of the flow. So at the beginning of the semester, maybe we can talk about the great leaders throughout the history. If it's in science, we can focus on science specifically. Then show them that what made them to become great leaders and what was the rationale and transform it to you, really you in the single of the classroom.
Yeah.
So what really you can do something and what do you think about? We can ask them to what they think about, what is important and what's the rationale. And we can also bring it that code in the subject area. So for example, if you're talking about health, what is important to health in your life? And what's the rationale then globally and locally, and what's the action part that we can take care about? So we can design the project for them. So the whole flow now it's a little makes sense for me. Use that into your teaching, like what subject and what content area that you can cover.
Yeah, you know what, the second objectives of Green Belt movement, you can see from the handout that I gave you, it says to increase the understanding of the impact of climate change and what actions communities can take to build resilience. I think that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Exactly. Monitoring. I'm sorry, I just saw monitoring forests. That could be a field day. Is how to do monitoring.
I like every part of this thing.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do Green Belt movement.
am I forcing?
No. I think it has
I
more
just love it.
I think it has more material also, and it. This would be several weeks, and so I think it would just be easy to go with. And there is different. We can come up with different project ideas, or break into stations, and people do station rotations, or people do, a group project where one person's the leader, or whatever we choose to call them. They're the stump, not the stump, the trunk. They're the trunk stabilizing the group.
Like the dragon. The dragon.
The dragon. I do like a random name of something. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Can we go back to the internet really quickly? So the hummingbird.
Hummingbird?
Because
hummingbird.
Did you watch the hummingbird one?
No, I didn't watch it, but
Okay. So it's really cool.
Oh.
Hummingbird and then put fungi.
Okay.
W-A-N.
W-A fungi.
Yeah. There you go. Perfect. And it's on YouTube.
Yes.
It's only 2 minutes. So great. But it could be who's going to be the hummingbird? You'll see in a second.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if a male would want to be a
Yeah,
hummingbird,
right.
though.
Just give us.
Oh no, it works. It works.
No, it works, but it's not quite.
The sound is gonna be.
Yeah, it now works, but it's not that.
She was 71, by the way.
71. She looks so good. Wow. That's too bad. Great leader.
So inspirational. Those are the stories that can be told.
Yeah. Not just this person discovered that. It's look at the action and the global impact of this person.
She found all in 77.
Another soda. Okay, so I went back 3 weeks to yell at myself for not getting my tax refund fast and safe with a Visa reloadable prepaid card instead of waiting for weeks to get the refund.
In the mail?
Honey, you were supposed to go back 4 weeks ago.
We are constantly being bombarded by problems that we face, and sometimes we can get completely overwhelmed. The story of the hummingbird is about this huge forest being consumed by a fire. All the animals in the forest come up and they are transfixed as they watch the forest burning, and they feel very overwhelmed, very powerless, except this little hummingbird. It says, I'm going to do something about the fire. So it flies to the nearest stream, takes a drop of water, and puts it on the fire, and goes up and down, up and down, up and down, as fast as it can. In the meantime, all the other animals, much bigger animals, like the elephant with a big trunk, could bring much more water. They are standing there helpless, and they are saying to the hummingbird, what do you think you can do? You're too little. This fire is too big. Your wings are too little. And you're big, so small. You can only bring a small drop of water at a time. But as they continue to discourage it, it turns to them without wasting any time and tells them, I'm doing the best I can. And that, to me, is what all of us should do. We should always feel like a hummingbird. I may feel insignificant, but I certainly don't want to be like the animals watching as the planet goes down the drain. I will be a hummingbird. I will do the best I can.
They could be the hummingbird.
Yeah, so
That's
good.
great.
I don't know much more. I mean, like, it's like the topic is so beautiful. Like, I loved it, but also the leadership is so beautiful. Like,
so good.
It's really amazing. Like, so empowering. You know, like how she's standing against government.
We are all hummingbirds.
And then in 2002, she took in, because the dictatorship of Moi was overthrown, and then it was a parliament, or I can't remember what it's called. I don't know much about politics.
Kenya.
So she was on the board, basically, of the new government.
Because she
Starting in
continued until
2002.
2002, 77, 2002. I was wondering what she did in the last 9 years of her life.
But there's a map that shows all of the other places that have integrated the Greenbelt movement into their communities.
When you said last week, so I wasn't sure, like, she's a leader in the West and then she was doing things in Africa. But now I'm more amazed because she was there and she was against. And I was like, how did she do, like, against all the dictatorship governments in Africa? Yeah. Amazing.
Crazy. Yeah. Fabulous story. Are you writing down the how is it related
Wild
to I like that. I like that. And maybe like find something in your life. What is something in your life that you're passionate about?
Yeah.
It could be like a homework assignment.
Yeah.
Figure out what you like and then
Work
how does it relate to the global climate?
Yeah.
And everything should be able to.
Or just keep it open, like, I mean, you know, related to this course, you know, like what you think is you're passionate about, you would like to do something, like not just in this next 2-3 months, but also afterwards, like you want to get the like important skills, competencies in this 3 months, but then you can continue building to do this passionate thing. Yeah. So give them open assignment to think like 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah. So what's the age group?
High school. It'll be 9th grade.
Oh, 9th grade. Okay. Yeah. So I like that idea because the only thing I was passionate about in high school or at that age was basketball. So
Yeah, or like something might be like video games.
Yeah, today it would be video games and my computer.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys think students are going to get really excited enough about this thing?
Maybe not in the beginning.
Yeah.
You have to give them a reason why.
Yeah.
And you have to give them ownership of a project that they can use. I think the little cartoons and some of the clips are really cute to help draw them in.
That is really empowering and so powerful that everyone. Once you watch it, you feel like, oh yeah, I want to do something.
Exactly.
Like something like, you know.
Yeah, because they're also, I think this would tie in well to like a science fair project if it's like now look in your community, what's an issue that you can work on.
But also, I remember like just you were writing like also in the introduction she's going to teach like great leaders and what they did and stuff like that too, in a way.
Yeah.
Why it's important.
Seeing like what their story is.
Yeah.
What were they passionate
I
about?
just put it down to make my idea.
And what kind of challenges they had. Like it wasn't like an easy road that everything worked perfectly. For example, when they were inventing like electricity or ampule or whatever, you know, it wasn't that worked like in a second, and it's like a challenging road, but
and it can be in any subject. Great.
So,
Leader in history and literature.
So I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit. So you're teaching biology?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Trying to figure out.
the leaders could be like, oh, what's her name? Rosalind. She's the woman who discovered like the DNA structure, but then Watson and Crick brought it, I guess. I don't know the full story. Something anyway. She was like Mary Rosalind, maybe? Mary, I don't remember. But yeah, different leaders who have made like discoveries, or leaders like her, where it's more like global impact.
Sorry, do you have the freedom to do an explicit focus on leadership then, or do you have to do it implicitly based on what the curriculum requires?
Probably what the curriculum is. So what I would probably do is find, like for my class, I would find leaders in the subject that we're learning. So if it's ecology or evolution, it would be like Darwin, Lynn Margulis, who looked at symbiosis, who's really great.
You should have watched Lynn Franklin.
Maybe it is. Yeah, that's her. That's her. So yeah, I think that I could squeeze in like a little bit about it, or make it a homework thing, and then discuss it in the context of why is this person important? What do they do in science? And like we're going to be, like photosynthesis. Yeah. Who put this together? I don't know. So I'm not positive, but I think.
Okay. This just reminded me of a paper that I had to write once in my undergraduate for a leadership class, and I wrote it on Bono. With because he's a lead singer of U2, right? And he's like world famous, but all the work that he's done in Africa, like with AIDS and stuff, like that's what I focused on. He used his fame and his power to like partner with presidents of countries to change the approach to illness. So, if you think in even broader terms, so.
What kind of leadership class were you in?
Leadership, that's what it's called.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It could be leadership in, like, all right, pick a leader in science.
Yeah, so that was my thinking, actually. That's where I was going with that, was, I picked a rock star, a literal, rock star to talk about something that dealt with science in a way.
Great example to use in the classroom. I'm going to write it down.
Yeah, so it was really meaningful to me, because I love U2. And it was fun to go research everything that he did, and stuff that I didn't know. So. And it made, like, all of the songs that he wrote made so much more sense after I went and did all this research. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, let students freely choose the subject what them is Good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as there's, you know,
Science
appropriate.
has to relate to science.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as long as there's appropriate guidelines,
Right.
but.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I? So I was thinking about it. I want to share with you my idea of what I was thinking about. So floor is like, you know, that's gonna be the initial period of the project. Maybe, you know, we can start with the great leader and talk about what's a big idea in your life and why it's important. So they need to come up with a rationale globally and locally. And also, so how can you make an action plan that is going to be the project? So I think that's really good part. So we can start from the watching the leader and, you know, having the project. So the beginning of the project, I was thinking about maybe we can do a brainstorming in the class. So if you have an idea that you can pitch, like, you know, pitch your idea. You know, if you don't have it, you don't have to. That's fine. So once you share your ideas, you know, we can break them out in small groups based on their common interest or common passion about. For example, you know, Mustafa pitch about something about, you know, climate or let's do plant trees in our community, you know, like that. Then yeah. Then I'll come to him and say, hey, I like your idea, I want to work with you, or you know, I like your idea, I can do this and these things in your project, something like that. So we can form a small group together. So I think in that way we can give them ownership of the project. They feel like, okay, this is from my idea, we can do together, you know, something like that. So I was thinking that's a good idea, and also as a group, they have to bring up their project goal and what's the rationale specifically for their project. And each student owns their own profession. I call professional sector. For example, he's good on organizing, or I'm good on, you know, talking or something. Then she's good on you know, planting the trees or watering or something like that. That, you know, they have their own professional sector that they are responsible on that specific job task. So they have responsible on that. So at the same time, we give them ownership on it. And I want to use the hummingbird as the leader that we mentioned about. So we don't want to call them leader because, you know, we don't want to mislead them. So I think, you know, if you're gonna be the hummingbird in our group, so you're gonna be the responsible person that makes sure everything is in the place. And if something went well, and you will be the person who, you know, communicates with other group members and also teachers, or bring some support, and you will be the responsible person. And also, so that's the beginning of the project. So I think that make good shape.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, just
Yeah.
presenting my idea. You know?
Yeah.
And also, while they figure out their project goal and rationale and have a plan on it, they will go for it. For example, for 2 weeks, 1 week, depending on the curriculum space and also depending on the teacher's schedule, whatever. And ongoing, while they are doing that, you know, they have to have the constant feedback with the teacher and also with other students. They have to communicate what's going well, what's going not. So what's plan B for that specific time. So we were planning this, you know, like he said, we are planning this, it doesn't go well, so we have to plan B. We switch it, now it became plan A, you know, we go for it, doesn't work, another plan B, or something like that. So they keep constantly get feedback and modify it and, you know, go for it.
Do they have enough time to do that?
This is not for one class. This is just general.
So yeah, this is a general flow of the whole process of how we organize the class. I mean, as a teacher side. Yeah.
This is the whole semester. The whole.
Yeah. I mean, it could be whole semester, or it could be just for 1 week, 2 weeks, or 1 year, or as a whole school year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's flexible.
Yeah, it's flexible. It should be flexible. And I was thinking at the end, each group has to come up with their outcome and, you know, give a presentation about this is our plan, this is our goal, rationale, and this is what we did, this is what we came up with. outcome. So and also they can talk about so how what went well, and what's the obstacles, and how we deal with dealt with the obstacles and overcame it. That kind of thing. I think. What do you think?
Brilliant.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
That would be helpful if they're one of their passions. If the teacher can have maybe during like the brainstorming or something, have individual 30-second meetings or something to say like, okay, what does your passion connect to in the professional sector? What kind of role would you take? Here you go.
Yeah.
Just to like help guide them a little bit more in terms of what role they will play in their group.
Yeah, I was also thinking about before the brainstorm or sharing the ideas, it may be good that teacher have the list of the project ideas, so she can or he can introduce, this is an example that you guys can do, and or you can pick one of these, or if you have your own idea, you're free to share with it, kind of thing. So, what do you think?
Sounds really brilliant.
It does.
Structured.
So I like it because it's flexible in terms of length, the length of the time, and also it's flexible to apply
in different
subject areas.
Definitely.
And I think starting with each student owns their professional sector, I think at that part, that's a good initiation phase to like actually, like not really the beginning anymore, but it's transitioning into the project itself. And so based off of that, we could mark, this is where the rest is going to take off of, and then have some kind of, I think having some ideas of projects, or not actual projects, but structure. So for example, or the methods is what it would be called. So having, you can have people do this all in groups, or maybe students can go through and do a debate about this and, formalize the project through a class debate, like everyone goes up and, I don't know, it's an open presentation about their project, and then the class asks questions and challenges them. So I think having some ideas of how, the method of how students will do that would be good also. So like, what do you get, like a debate might be one, or general group projects and presentations, or through a science fair, or a symposium, a student symposium.
You can give them like suggestions, but they can also be, you can leave it open, not like just 6 things, but okay, this is my, guiding them a bit, science fair, whatever it is, but then asking them if they want something else to be added, and then to just give them room to decide what they want to do.
Yeah, well, because looking at this from a teaching perspective, and others who have taught, let me know what you think. If we saw this, and then you're in each of your fields, so science, social studies, literature, if you saw that, and then you also had some general ideas like, oh, I could do a debate with this, or oh, I could do a symposium, just having those ideas, I think, written out is very helpful, instead of thinking, okay, which method should I use to get at this? Because I think it's within those methods that you have to dig in and flesh out where that leadership is going to come from and the structure of the groupings. I don't know.
Would you guys like to take a 5 minutes break, or just want to go keep going?
No, it's 11:15.
Yeah, it's already 11:15.
I have to leave at noon for my work. I have to go in today to aquarium.
Short break?
Okay.
5 minutes? I'm okay to continue or have the break.
Do you want a break?
No, I mean, it seems like people are thinking, and people need some fresh airs kind of thing, so just suggestions.
Yeah, then let's take a break for 5 minutes and come back and let's develop the sort of the lesson plan of the project and let's get it done.
Okay?
Yeah, let's go on.
Yeah.
5 minutes break.
But I think this plan is really like flexible, just also going back. That can be implemented in every class, or it can be extended, like if it's not like, let's say 4 hours per week or whatever. So I think it's a very good proposal.
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh, I just thought of a cool project.
That's
Unit 8. I like when the ideas happen. So one of the, I think the method that I would incorporate would be first to learn about transpiration and like how the clouds form and how that relates to water and stuff. We would probably do a station unit or stations one day.
How did you call it? Okay.
Stations? Oh, transpiration. Transpire. Yep. Transpiration. So powdering, like water cycle types of things. Okay, so oh geez, I feel so smart. Science. So for that, we could do stations. I always like stations to explore. This would just be like a brief, maybe 15 minutes intro of like what transpiration is, and then we could get into groups and follow, like after, this is after we've brainstormed, or do we want to follow this? Sorry, which one do we want to do?
Yeah, let's pick kind of 1 hour center, 1 hour length of the class from that.
From that, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just kidding. Don't do erase, probably. I wasn't sure if you wanted to look at one of these topics,
Also,
or do you want to look at this?
So that's just a framework that that can be used in any topic. So I was thinking maybe we can pick topic that we will cover. So you will cover in the classroom, and pick what kind of activities we will do in one day, so we can develop detailed lesson plan on it.
So what we ultimately gotta do today before we go out of this room is what we're gonna do next Saturday with you, right? Whatever it's gonna be, 30 minutes or 1 hour. Or 1 hour is, I think it's too much.
Like 45 minutes.
Yeah, usually class is 50 minutes, and I was writing down the time when I was observing, and took like 10 minutes to get to actually start. Yeah, so 40 minutes. I would say about 40 minutes. Or maybe put 50 minutes actually, because it should be. If there's a well-behaved class.
That's true. But also, like all research shows, it's like really when children are young, people are concentrating just 20 minutes.
Yeah,
not
it's
more
like
than 20 minutes.
Learning.
Yeah, and then
or like lecture, and then it's like okay, activities.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the learning, the better learning.
And then maybe just to revise it or read some questions, but real actual learning takes only 20 minutes.
We can concentrate really well.
Perfect. So topic. Oh geez. So on the spot. How about global warming?
Yeah.
How detailed should we? I mean, because it could either be global warming, which is a general one, or it could be transpiration, which is very detailed.
Use Greenpeace movement, what they do for, I think it's also amazing organization like Greenpeace, how they are funded, they don't get any money from the government, they just get from the people and etc. So also how they use it, I think like very amazing for me, for young people to learn maybe.
Yeah. So I think
then what they do for example, global warming.
Yeah.
And especially in the northern part of the world at the moment.
I mean, I guess I would start off with using, is this going to be specific to mine? So like, okay,
yes.
graphs. So I would probably start
we will
off.
1 hour prototype all for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
In 30 minutes. Okay, ready, go. I would start off, yeah, maybe just say climate change as the topic because it's like an introduction to all of this, and then we can explore. I can explore later the details.
Yeah. Also, I guess under that topic, maybe you can have many different types of.
Yeah, because it's broader also, and not as like, look, here's some chemistry, and here's like all of this, because someone might not, if they're looking at this online, or if they're looking at it, I don't know, at some point as a teacher. Yeah, I think a more broad. Okay, climate change.
You said how long you're gonna spend for climate change, like in second semester?
Oh, so it would be a theme that recurs everywhere. So once we talk about what is climate change, then we would visit like plants, and carbon cycle. How does climate change impact that? How does climate change impact that?
So including all those, how much do you expect your students are gonna learn about those things? And this entire thing is gonna move to public health side, right?
Oh,
it's gonna
yes.
lead to
it'll also
learning about virus.
Yeah, because the climate change will also
Yes.
move into a health one and evolution.
Yes.
I mean, this would be like all 3 months that
okay.
I'm teaching, but the intro to climate change would just be 1 class.
Okay. Cool.
And then, because then hopefully the students would understand like how climate change works and it affects all of this stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Climate change.
Climate change. Step 1.
Step 1.
Step 1. So I would probably break the students out. I would use an engagement first. So, are you guys familiar with engagements? It's basically something that's 5 minutes long. Can you put in parentheses also the time, 5 minutes? And it's to instigate thought, and it's either an object or a picture or a graph, and it's like, what do you think this is? And it gets the students thinking right off the bat, or maybe it's a quote. So use picture, graph, or quote about climate change. Or like, have you guys seen the climate change graph that's like, whoop, carbon dioxide? The classic. Or it could be a picture of a drought. And say like, what is this? And then how does that tie in with all of the change? Or Hurricane Sandy, current event.
So I just saw a comic the other day. Have you seen the comic with the polar bears?
No.
And they're at this, they're standing on the side on an iceberg, and they're looking at these other polar bears that are out, floating on ice, and out in the water, and they're holding signs that say, humans do not exist. And the other ones are holding like briefcases, and they're at this climate change conference. And they're like holding data and stuff. You might want to use something like that.
That would be, or comic, maybe like great comic. Okay. So engagement, and it's followed by discussion, usually a few minutes. Maybe say like 2 or 3 minutes.
Just like comment that, when I was a student, I saw a lot of, the drawn pictures and, the polar bears. But then I feel like, okay, that's not something happening on the other side of the world that relates to my life, because I don't see such things in my daily life. So I think it's important to connect, how it's really impacting your life.
Hurricane Sandy.
Right.
Or last year's winter.
Right.
Yeah. What winter?
That's really, you feel it. It's really there.
Was it last year when there wasn't really a winter?
Yeah.
So like once, I think.
Yeah, that was weird. Okay, and then discussion, and that's up to, the students are questioning. So then after discussion, and just like explaining what this is, and that, yeah, this is actually related to climate change, so that it's transition. And right there, I would probably break into groups and say, all right, get into, it can either be pairs or, let's see, climate change station. Yeah, let's do stations, break out into groups or pairs, but maybe say like actually break into stations. Maybe there's 5 stations around the room. Yeah, 5 stations.
What are you having the stations?
So at stations, this is where they actually start to learn the different things. So at one station, there could be a lot of different pictures. And it's like you can either look at before and after of like a glacier in the 1900s and then a glacier today. That same one. And there's a lot of different before and after pictures like this where you can obviously see, oh my gosh, look how much smaller it is. Or look at the size of Greenland right now. Or look at the forest cover in the Amazon right now compared to an aerial picture of it like 50 years ago. And so those pictures, and actually my professor has pictures like that I can get from him. It's really good because you see the vast array of things, and that's where like the Greenbelt movement can tie in, because there's like a hint about the forest, is like forest cover. So that forest cover would be something, let me just jot that down. That would be one of the topics, because basically you would break into stations, kind of learn some stuff about the climate change going on. You know, maybe make it, how big are the classes? 10 people. Okay, maybe do 6 stations, but then 2 of them are just going to be the same. Like, there's, you know, pictures at 2 stations, and then
Okay, so
the same
3
activity.
different stations,
So it's
but
3
total
stations.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually, yeah, just say 3.
3
And then the teacher can
multiply 2. Yeah.
Okay, Greenland, Amazon. Maybe say forest cover.
Yes.
Glaciers. Yeah. And like drought, definitely. Where it's like it used to be a lake and now there's nothing.
Then you can tie
like
that.
the Bodeli Depression, actually. Can you write Lake Chad?
And also like some islands in the South
Oh my God.
Pacific.
Yes.
In 10-20 years, like Maldives, they're not going to exist anymore, or like it's going to be like a serious human problem, because like, you know, you need to, like people are moving now to Australia or whatever. It's a big issue.
I think in a lake, what was it?
Lake Chad.
Chad.
South Africa.
Yeah. Lake Chad.
Chad. Okay, Chad. Chatting.
Chad.
What was it you were talking about?
Okay.
Maybe British can tell better. The islands in Southeast Pacific. Yeah, for example, and also not like Maldives, but Maldives are in a way like known well, but they're not like those many islands close like in Southeast Pacific are not going to exist in 10-20 years.
Oh.
So then it's like
sea level.
Yeah.
Nice.
So one of my colleagues in Finland was doing the research in that area, that how it's changing like people's life because they need to migrate, and people are migrating to different like countries there, like to Australia, for example.
There's 400,000 people, I think, on
Yeah.
Maldives. And they're pretty small.
Yeah. So it's like a huge issue, like because of climate change, people, and you know, it's a human issue. I don't know if you find it interesting.
So for, can you make it so that on number 3, after you wrote stations, maybe do another enter, but then tab, so it's like A, B, C.
Yes.
Type of thing. That's okay.
Sea level is very critical. I was watching a video on Wall Street Journal. Because of the elevated sea level, New York is under danger right now. I mean, what happens in New York is underwater. I mean, you're basically screwed. That the whole New England, half of America is just going to be jobless.
Yeah.
If that island doesn't work, right? And then it's remember that it's like really elevating, and it's just like very, very, very close to the sea line right now. So if it elevates another 2 meters or something, but New York is gone.
Yeah.
And then
it's
all the
predicted
jobs
to happen in the next 50 years.
Yeah, I mean it's unbelievable. And they are looking at also what other cities are doing.
Yeah, other cities
like Holland and UK.
Yes.
The
Holland, the
they
same.
have.
The same.
It's a huge cost to do those kind of things. So now I think there's
They
an
have
open
like
debate about.
floating houses they built recently in Holland.
I think in Holland.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
like Waterworld.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So
people can find, as you said, like more. I mean, if I'm a student, if somebody gives me an example of like North Pole or somewhere in islands on the other side of the world, I might not connect to my world. But if it's New York, they will say, oh, I was there, or my parents are living there, or relatives. They're going to find more connections.
Oh, I see. For the same one.
Yeah. Because the Greenberg.
You feel real. I mean,
all of that will be one station.
Just for a lot of people, it's like, well, environment, yeah, I mean, I've been hearing it for the next. Nobody knows if it's really serious.
Yeah.
It's hard
until
to
you
the city
really
have some old
From next week onwards. Yeah, everybody there practical. From next week onwards.
Does it work for you?
Yeah. Okay, and then okay, so pictures, and then maybe there could be some kind of article, like a news article for the students to look at. So like news articles. And then maybe the last one could be some graphs, maybe. So, and they would be flowering time of different flowers, because flowers are starting to flower a lot earlier, and the pollinators sometimes aren't there yet to pollinate. So early flowering time, maybe like CO2 emissions.
CO2
emissions. Yeah, perfect. And another one. How about the trees? So percent deforestation. So it might be like a fact station with like graphs and numbers. So like deforestation, and maybe the percent of CO2 sequestered by forests.
There's also this bees thing, that number of bees is just diminishing or something. And if there's no bees, there is nothing.
At all.
Yeah.
There is no pollination.
Just to understand, are you going to give all the materials to the students so they can look it up? Are you going to ask them to find out and bring us materials?
No, I would provide it.
Okay.
So I will find these for Saturday.
Under news articles, I just saw one yesterday that scientists, like, there was like, out of 13,000 scientists, only 13 believe that it's not happening.
Oh. Really?
Yeah, so every climate scientist, they're like, all the scientists in the world basically are in agreement that it is happening.
Fantastic.
So only 13 disagreeing that it will not happen, like
Yeah,
it's not
13
real?
out of 13,000 scientists think that it's not happening.
So almost everybody believes in that.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
Very controversial thing. I mean, it's just like
Maybe
it changes
also,
all the time. I mean, it
severe
changes.
weather
It's not like
events.
everything is going to be just like that. If you look at the past, there was like ice ages and things like that. So climates change. But the thing is, are we really contributing to that as humans? Are we screwing the planet basically? Or is it just its nature? Because it will change. Like 10,000, 20,000 years ago, it was a different climate. And then are we really screwing it, or is this the way of the nature? I mean, I don't know if they found the...
No, they believe that it's... 13,000 believe that it's human.
It's us to do it.
Perfect. Okay. So stations, and then maybe
cancer of the globe.
but 5 minutes
or bikes.
Yeah.
Did you consider any videos in R&B?
Yeah,
Videos.
Yeah.
Also articles and videos?
Yeah,
Okay.
I like that.
It's
It's like, watch this.
Yeah, video might be better.
Yeah, but because increasing science literacy though is like huge on the standards list now.
I'm sure there's like
But-
lots of National
And like
Geographic.
technology though too.
So is it gonna be like you put laptop and then students
Yeah.
watch watch the video. Okay,
So at my
that's-
school, I know that we can check out laptops. So perfect. Okay, so stations. So that's a total of 15 minutes. So far we're at like almost 20 minutes. So we still have 30 minutes left.
Very efficient class.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get grade well.
And maybe we should stop here.
Alright, next time.
It's GBL.
Oh, it's a greenbelt
Greenbelt
movement.
Oh,
thing.
greenbelt.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so maybe, yeah, definitely later on connect to Greenbelt movement and impact of trees with climate change, or importance of trees in climate change. It'd be so cool to have a tree planting. When is Arbor Day?
Is that April?
Ah,
or
it's
something?
April.
Maybe,
something,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, that's during the
that's right.
teaching.
Yeah.
Take them there.
Can you just like make a note, a small note somewhere?
Sure.
Tree planting for Arbor Day. Could totally, there's the Boston, there must be a Boston Tree Committee or Arbor Society where I can get the students to be like, on Saturday, if you're free, come plant trees. Or like have a project or maybe a fundraiser or something.
Yeah, that would be great.
There's also like National Ride Your Bike to Work Day.
Oh yeah!
Stuff like
List
that.
of
I don't know when that is, but there's like days set aside just for like human behavior.
Which is fantastic. Biking day.
Cool. Parking day as well?
Ride your bike to work day.
Yeah. It's just for maybe carbon emissions.
Oh.
I feel like it's in the fall, but maybe it's in the
I
spring.
don't know.
Okay, perfect. So after the stations, or within. So I need your help on this part. What do you think? Because so the discussion actually would move to the Greenbelt movement. That would probably be 10 minutes, I would say. So we have a leeway of 20 minutes, and we could either, for implementing like different leadership components, we could either make the stations longer and have a leader in each station to do a presentation about, I mean, everyone's going to rotate, so everyone will get to see everything.
May I just say something? I'm really sorry. Like, also working with like adults, it started to seem to me a bit like too much, too unrealistic to do this. I mean, so good ideas, but I'm not really sure if it's really like, you know, I mean, you're better than me working with teenagers maybe. Like, I'm just collecting data and working with adults, teaching adults. So, like, it started to seem to me like very good ideas, perfect, but not really realistic to do it in 50 minutes. Yeah, like in one day it's too much. Like putting too much things. Maybe now, like, you know, it seems quite possible because like you're engaged and you know all the things. But for young people having lots of other courses dealing with this and that, it starts to seem to me too much in 50 minutes.
Yeah.
That's just a suggestion.
What if it's then focused on trees instead of like everything, but maybe the pictures, it has a lot of things. Because stations are common, but I think 5 minutes is a little bit fast for
Even like
students.
teaching to like university students, in my experience, like I was also very ambitious to teach them so much in like exactly 1.5 hours, and then like I always got, it was the feedback, like I wish we learned half of them or whatever, and then like concentrated. It was like kind of a feedback for me in the past that to concentrate, because then I thought like maybe those subjects were really like interesting to me and I was passionate, so I wanted them to know. But then the feedback was it was too much, even like they were 24, 25, 26 years old that I was working. So I'm not sure with 16, 17 years olds how it's going to be realistic.
How about...
Do you have to do it in 1 class class?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the purposes for what we're doing here, but like, could you do it in like 3 classes?
So we can leave this as 3 hours, and then we can kind of, you know, cut off some part and then make it.
The practicing and the brainstorming stuff that we're doing now, I think is fine, like next week or whatever, but like in reality, like maybe it could be like a whole week or something.
Yeah, exactly, like 3 or 4 lessons that you can cover that them to reflect and ask questions and bring perspective. So, I mean, we can like conclude, but then maybe 50 minutes is quite like unrealistic if we are planning a 1 lesson. Then maybe to do it in 3 lessons.
I feel like 3 hours. Because I feel like I can't, because of the standards, I don't think I could spend.
Sure.
a week and a half.
Of course, you have to follow the curriculum hours that from the school.
Yeah.
Just
seeing.
Is it okay if we just keep number 1, number 2 as the mandatory items, but number 3 is optional, so you can pick 1 out of A, B, or C, or D?
Well, I think the stations are really good because that's like one of the new science methods that's supposed to like start being integrated into the classroom.
For instance, like discussion, sometimes they are so like they might bring something, you know, that you don't want to stop.
Yeah.
You know? That it's really like it happened to me. Like I put 10 minutes, but then it took 30 minutes because there was a really good something, and it was like going to be
a teaching moment.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I should stop back and then change my plans.
I think the way to get around it might be for this one, instead of like see all the examples like the Amazon, droughts, Lake Chad, bees. I think instead of all those, have pictures of forest cover in different parts of the world, and then news articles about deforestation.
Yeah.
So it's one thing, but I think that's a lot more manageable. Because then in the discussion, we can just focus on trees instead of, oh yeah, flowering times, and oh bees, and droughts, because that, you're right, that is like, you can't
it was
discuss
overloaded.
that
like there was
material if you can't discuss
for me, it wasn't because like I loved them and I wanted them to learn, but then the feedback was, oh my god, like you just put them and we didn't understand what we were doing. So, and even as I say, like there are university students and like master level students. And
Okay, so maybe change to just forest cover, deforestation.
Don't worry, all of them are over here. So
perfect.
Okay. So
nice.
And then if people have time, it can be
like you can just
drought in 1 day, or
you can, I don't know how it works in the high school, but maybe give them as a worksheet, and like if they're more interested in the beginning, so they can just check by themselves at home or whatever, like such suggestions can be given.
Yeah, so along with stations, there's always supposed to be like a worksheet of some sort to hold the student accountable.
Yeah.
But that's where, like, what do you guys think about either doing 10 minutes at each station, so the whole thing is 30 minutes?
Yeah.
And in that time, because we could either have it stations where they rotate through everything and they kind of get a sense, or it could be each group stays for 15 minutes, say, at only one station, or even 20 minutes, and they create some sort of quick presentation or quick argumentation about the material that they see that they can present to the whole class.
Maybe 15 minutes, like 10, maybe 2 minutes, 20 is too long, but 15 each session, I don't know.
Okay.
Just want to understand that, are you using that time to bring, are you going to use that time to connect the project that they will do later on, or?
Yeah. So it would be, because we would probably do station-esque things for a lot of the different themes that we would go through. And either throughout, like maybe having a handout or something, like a guiding packet of the Greenbelt movement that has, day 1 we're going to explore forest cover, day 2 we're going to explore the carbon cycle, day 3 we'll explore.
And some of the things you can give as an assignment or homework or whatever.
Yeah, like write an
embedded
or create a proposal for the community. And so maybe throughout they'd always be making notes or kind of building upon their project. Ooh, I like that. Yeah, okay. So guiding packet, this would be for the whole unit, for building notes or building. Do you guys like that?
Yeah.
We have some Web 2.0 suggestions for doing stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay. What do you mean Web 2.0? Like projects?
Yeah.
Like a Blogster
like
or?
Like Blogster or like
missions. Have you guys should go to the Smithsonian Mobile Ed free workshop. It's a week in DC in the summer.
What is it?
It's just using a mission, which is like a challenge for the students, and then you have to go out and create the solution using digital media or like a Blogster, and then you can post it on Twitter or post it on Facebook, or it's like you create a web page about it really quickly. But we basically had one day to like complete the mission, share, debrief with all of the groups.
So for each group, you could have a Wikispace page too, like put up their creative stuff, like a Glogster or
Glogster?
Glogster.
Glogster? I've never heard.
It's like blog, but blog.
Blog, but glog.
Yeah, it's like a collage. It's like a digital collage that you can create.
Glogster.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that. Having some sort of space they can add to. So, okay, graphs a lot. So maybe, okay, it'll be, I like rotating actually. And then maybe put, okay, worksheets, excellent. The worksheet might be integrated with the packet. I'll think about it. Greenbelt movement. Where in this discussion? So 30 or 40. Okay, that's basically the end. Yeah. So, on to in the stations to integrate the plans and projects. What do you guys think? How can we incorporate that?
One song, please.
When everyone's in their group, should there be, do we want to integrate the model of like, there's going to be a leader, like who's the hummingbird in the situation, where they kind of take the lead in just reading the directions of that activity, and someone, or maybe someone's in charge of like taking notes on the web page or something that they're creating.
You'd have predefined roles.
Yeah, so maybe even handing out like what role are you in, because we will have already decided what professional sector like you own throughout the entire unit.
I'm thinking that even if it's a small project, I think it's good to have them to like each group has their own different color of their project, like what's the project title of them, and what's the goal of this title, and what's the rationale, so they have the reason why they are doing it and why it's important. So I was thinking maybe after the station, they explored what's going on in the world, and they understand what's happening, the issues, and so after that, it might be a good idea that everybody come up their ideas and say that, hey, I watched that video and there, and I think maybe I can do like planting project, like my community, my school, like my goal is to have 50 planting trees, planting 50 trees until the end of the semester, or something like that. That I don't know, maybe it's probably a little out of the curriculum side, but then still it's good to have them to have the mindset and
No, I think that's really good, because it's, I mean, we can so easily connect all of those to like why is deforestation important, and forests, and then look at maybe even what's the New England connection? Like what was the tree cover here?
Right.
You know, like, or where are we living?
Yeah.
We're actually, like, Back Bay is a bunch of trash, you know, and it's like filled in. It used to be water. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but it's funny.
So, forming a group that, you know, who is interested in that project, then, you know, somebody maybe say that I like your idea, then I'm good on fundraising, so let's do plan here so we can fundraise here. Okay, another person can say that I'm good organized to engage communities, so I can advertise it and spread the word of mouth, and you know.
I feel like maybe we should change this to like 2-hour prototype, because it would be a 2-day. I feel like it's a 2-day, because like the first day would explore the scientific content or the historical content or whatever content area, and then day 2 can focus more on putting together the project and understanding like what was talked about and explored in that class, and then saying, okay, so instead of number 4 right there, maybe that could be like for day 2, and then the green belt movement thing that's not numbered quite yet below there would go after the station to have like a discussion about what this means and why are trees important to the climate and the community. And then for homework, it could be, you know, like looking at something. I have to go very, very soon, just a couple of minutes. I know. But I think day 2 would incorporate more of the leadership projects and community identifying, like, can we do we want to do an experiment like in a bottle that shows transpiration and why forests are important, which you can do like in a pop bottle, or you could do, students could come up with a proposal that they actually want to propose to the city of Boston about planting trees, you know, so I think that those kinds of projects would be cool.
Yeah, that has to, you know, connect to the real world, so that they can contribute something in their community. At the same time, they're learning something from the school.
Yeah.
Do you want to share the note in like Google Doc or something so we can share during the week?
Oh yeah.
Put comments on it.
Sure.
Yeah, we could put comments on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like putting comments.
If we have other ideas.
That sounds great.
I want to find that folder.
And I like there's a lot of cool technology comments.
Yeah, we can. So I think Sook and Yumi and I can add some Web 2.0 ideas too.
That's great. I love that. And then because it can also be incorporated with looking at, hey, over in that country, what's it like for you guys? Or like, are you experiencing deforestation? Or like, what are your climate events over there?
Yeah. So we're proud of the Philippines right now.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, okay.
Shape.
Yeah, so we're going to post this one and the general flow as well, so if you have any ideas about it.
I mean, so far it looks good, but then it's always like, you know, you reflect better a couple of days later, so maybe it's good to, you know, it's always the case.
That's a great idea, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we're so focused now, and then during the week we can just comment, as you said. And then, so next week, Kent, you're going to do this, like she's going to present this to class, and we will comment.
Will it be like you guys are my students?
Yeah.
You're like,
very bad students.
And
like, misbehaving.
On, you know, what you're doing, so don't feel like, you know,
okay.
I don't want to learn anything. I don't want to leave my classroom.
I don't want your opinion.
Why do we study?
I only do what Jason
says. Does that look okay? Is that what we wanted to do today? Yeah. Okay. All right. So this would be like a precursor to all of day 1.
Yeah. So then it's like the general frame that can be implemented in each section, and
maybe even make a note about the stations. Is maybe each person can take on their professional sector role.
And also yours can be used as we agreed last week, like as a model, you know, how, because it's like a contribution of many people. then it's like a general frame how to make your own, but then it's an example how it's done for future work.
Okay, perfect. Thank you all.
See you, Bridget, next weekend.
Meet some of you around.
Alright,
so and you have my email.
Yes, we'll email you about the organizations and
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Sorry, I came in.
We forgave you.
Enjoy.
Okay.
Do you want to continue to work on it, or do you want to stop and later jump on to work on it? Maybe later you're tired.
I'm not tired, but like the way I work is like sometimes I get too like focused with the things and I cannot see any aspects anymore. Like my perspective is like this, and then I leave it, and a couple of days later I was like, why do we do it, or why do I do it? So I better like, that's my way at least.
Okay, so we had so far had our design project meetings. We started in our third session and then until today. So we have a feedback form that's we'll really appreciate if you can fill this
now or for next week.
Well,
Let's do it now and get it.
yeah.
May I get a pen?